tabs allow you to align text at a specific location in a document. In this lesson, you'll set tab stops and tab leaders, you'll modify tabs, and you'll use tabs to align text. This list in our flyer is difficult to read right now, but when we're finished, it'll look like this. To do this, we set custom tab stops here on the ruler. A tab stop is a point on the horizontal ruler that indicates the location at which to align text. And by default, tab stops are located every ½ inch along the ruler, but we set a custom tab stop here at the 1 inch mark, one here at the 3½ inch mark, and one here at the 5½ inch mark. We also added these dotted line tab leaders, so the text is easier to read. Let's get started. You don't have to do this, but to make it easier to see, I'm going to increase the zoom level before we begin. In step 1, I'll scroll down a bit so that the list is just under the ruler. When you set tab stops for existing text, you need to select it first, so I'll select these 5 paragraphs. In step 2, I'll go to the left end of the horizontal ruler, and I'll point to the tab indicator. This icon indicates which type of tab is currently active, and as you can see, left tab is selected. Clicking the tab indicator lets you choose different types of tabs and indents. So in step 3, I'll click it, and center tab is now selected. I'll keep clicking to show the right tab, the decimal tab, the bar tab, the first line indent, and the hanging indent. I'll click one more time to make the left tab active again, and then I'll go over to the 1 inch mark on the ruler, and I'll click here to create a tab stop. Next, I'll go to the 3½ inch mark, and I'll click to create a second tab stop here. In step 4, I'll go back over here, and I'll click the tab indicator twice, so the right tab icon is active. Then I'll go over to the 5 inch mark on the ruler, and I'll click here to set a right tab stop. Now, the formatting of our text hasn't changed yet because all we've done is set tab stops on the ruler. We haven't actually inserted any tabs in our text yet. So in step 5, in the first line, I'll click before the word trip, and I'll press the tab key. Then I'll click before dates, and press tab again. And I'll click before cost, and press tab. As you can see, inserting a tab before the word trip left aligned the text at the 1 inch mark, and inserting a tab before dates left aligned that text at the 3½ inch mark. And because we set a right tab stop at the 5 inch mark, inserting a tab before cost right aligned the text with that point on the ruler. Now in step 6, I'll insert a tab at the beginning of each remaining line in the list so they're all aligned at the 1 inch mark. Then in step 7, I'll insert a tab before each date in the list, and they'll align with the 3½ inch mark. And I'll also insert a tab before each $sign so that the prices right align at the 5½ inch mark. Once you've set tabs, it's easy to move them, but you need to first select all the paragraphs you want to modify. Otherwise, any changes you make will affect only the current paragraph. So in step 8, I'll select all 5 lines of our list. We want more space between the dates and the costs. So on the ruler, I'll drag the right tab stop to the 5½ inch mark. Word immediately makes that change, and now I'll deselect the text. In step 9, we'll use the Tabs dialog box to set tab leaders. Tab leaders are lines that appear in front of tabbed text, and they're used to help guide the reader's eye. So I'll select just the last 4 lines of tabbed text. Then in the paragraph group, I'll click the launcher, and down at the bottom of the paragraph dialog box, I'll click Tabs. The Tabs dialog box allows you to set and adjust the position of tab stops, and you can see the 3 existing tab stops here. You can also change the type of alignment that a tab stop uses. Here in the Leader section, you can choose to add a dotted tab leader, a dashed leader, or an underscore leader. We want to add a dotted tab leader to the tab stops at both the 3.5 and 5.5 inch marks. So, in step 10, here in the tab stop position list box, I'll click 3.5. Then down in the Leader section, I'll click the To option button, which will add a dotted leader. And then I'll click Set. Now I'll repeat that process for the 5.5 inch tab stop. Then I'll click OK. I'll deselect the text, and you can see the dotted line tab leaders that have been added to our list. Finally, I'll save our changes. To try these steps yourself, and for some additional tips, and to see a table on the different types of tabs you can set in a document, turn to page Word 58 in your book.